Yeah, I got it. All right. So going through a couple of things that we've been changing. So one of them that we basically that's one thing, that's one great thing about Flow. One of the many great things is that we adapt and change quickly. So on Monday we discussed the idea of creating a checklist that will help us kind of have more consistency and success through our process. So our design process, which all of you should be aware of, the four-step process that we use, which applies to some projects, not all projects, but sets a framework for how we work internally and what we share with the clients. So after we've done that, like share with the clients and all that, I noticed that internally there are things that we keep on doing over and over that may be helpful if we standardize them and make it part of our process. Like, okay, so the owner knows that he needs to get X from our process. That's when we set the expectations during the initial consultation and the initial email. But what are the expectations of us or each one of you as we're doing the project? So we created this little pamphlet, which is on the works, and it goes from massing, define, envision, design, document, construction. And it's this little welcome little checklist that you go through. And Sabrina worked on it. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to finish it, but we're gonna finish it together. And it says, okay, so what's step one? So general information. So, and by the way, each one of these will, I guess I would want to put a date and even signature on it so that you yourself within each project have a little pamphlet like this that looks the same, and you go through each one of those steps. It helps in many ways. Inherently, it also helps you know and what you don't know, and know whether you should move forward or not and where to get the information. It's basically like an action plan, right? So I don't want to have to say, hey, Tim, did you read the contract? It's like, no. Go through this general information, read the contract, obtain contact information of owner, understand scope of work, understand timeline, contract agreement. So ensure the agreement has been signed. That's basically what it's trying to say. Ensure signature. If it hasn't been signed and I tell you to work on it, say that when it hasn't been signed, what's going on here? It's important that that's in the right folder and the right location for every project. There shouldn't be hidden agreements between me and a client or Marcos and a client. It should all be in writing there. So fulfillment of deposit, it has to be checked that, yeah, it was paid. That you can just ask Darwin or Marcos, was it paid? Yes, we're good to go. So because I may give you jobs before they even become a full job, because sometimes we know that they are gonna move forward, but you can begin reading information on it. The way Marcos's graphics is going crazy. Your camera was going crazy, yeah. Marcos. We lost you. Um, so so that's that. And by the way, feel free to jump in. This is a working session so that we can edit it and add and take away. This is a good opportunity. We don't get to do this. So ensuring the signatures are there, initial deposits. So I want people to also overview the initial photos. I typically go and do initial photos of the site, initial videos of the site, consultations with the client, and any initial information within the proper folders. So you guys have a training where we talk about folder structure. There's everybody should know where everything goes. So that's that, right? So then a good one is ask management for a reference typical project. Why? Because they may be a similar job. Not all jobs are created equal. They're all different. But they may be a basement job, right? And it's a basement job. It may be a garage addition job. You may have a garage addition job. It may be an attic or a dormer or a house, ground up house, different kinds of styles. So that leads into another document, which I'm going to share with you, which is a successful project list, or a generally successful projects or typical projects list, which we have, and I'm going to share after this one too, where the project number is going to be there and a short overview of that project is going to be there. And each one of you will have access to it. Will be pinned up on our board, and you can go to that list and say, I don't see a basement, or I don't see an attic, or whatever. There will be a type of those jobs for each one. It will streamline the training process, streamline everything so that we are much more efficient. Okay. Eventually, I'll probably create a selected folder with a Revit file of each one of them. Makes sense to have them in one place too. So that may be another step. But we'll start with that little pamphlet, project number, and the project information. And look, you can ask management. That's what it says. Ask management is we left it open, but it's Marcos, Julio, myself, people that have been here long enough that are in management. So, like Julio, and Julio will just write the project number there for you, or I will write the project number there. Okay. So check above. By the way, is a checklist so that the circles will become something bigger and bolder, so that you can actually check it. So this thing is gonna get bigger, but you're gonna have that in there. So then after that, there may be a massing of the property that you, whether it's an existing building or a site. I want you to begin doing a massing, either using Mass Oliver, which is now Mass Mapper, which is something that probably should be here as a reference, or using Patriot's property or the assessor's website, something. You can even ask Patrick. Patrick, is there a way that you can find me a quick map of this so that I can use it for my site plan planning? So even if there's not a building, it's just for planning purposes, so that you can create a base for that defined stage, right? So make sure that you have a site plan. Make sure that you have plans of each level involved. Now it's not even each level involved. It's becoming every floor. So we got to charge our clients to do existing conditions of everything, because inspectors want to see everything now. So we got to let the clients also know that that's a new standard, because they want to see what's going on. And I understand why. They don't have a chance to go to your house every day. So how do they know what you have compliant and non-compliant there? And what's their chance to fix it? They will never have a chance to fix it unless they see it. Some clients get very wary about that, and I had to deal with one of them. And I had to be careful about how I showed everything. But just giving you more information that you need, but just so that you understand, we need to measure almost everything, if not everything. Okay? So that's that for that. By the way, the massing we use or process 11x17 template. That's the one you're going to be using for step 1 through 3 most of the time. Maybe times where you don't. You will understand that with your management team when you should do it. So going to that, we want to have elevations, roof plans, perspectives. And this is all you're going to be needing when you go to do your existing conditions, and they should be printed and ready before you go. So after all of this is done, and that's ready and printed, you proceed to go with a define. So you proceed to go measure. Now, what happens after the define? Because this is this is called general information. This is before you even, this is not doing the job yet. This is like setting up the project, right? Make sure the names of the clients are there. That should probably be something like in the template, in the sheets, all that stuff already done. I don't want to go to a site to measure with something saying client. Like it should say the name, it should say all that stuff already. So then we go to define. By the way, all of this is to make us more efficient, so that we can be faster, so that we can charge more, so that we can all get paid more. Right? Ultimately, it all ties to also the bottom line. We want to be very efficient and regular. So when we go to the define stage. By the way, Marcos, anything on the general information that I should know?
Well, I guess just make sure that you look at the client name. Sometimes the client is a builder, but that builder is working with somebody else. So just make sure that look who it is. If you see like a company, let's say Dem Brusur, Brusur Construction. Now that tells you that either he's the builder or maybe he owns properties. So you should be able to kind of, when you look at the contract, make sure you pay attention to those little details, because what happens is that we work under many contractors, but they have actually owners that that are dealing with those projects. So ask the right questions at the beginning. I typically put anything that we receive from the client prior to the initial consultation. Sometimes people send you things, hey, this is what I'm thinking already. I always put it in the files with a date, and that way there's always you can follow up to that folder and find that information. So besides that, everything makes sense.
So I 1,000% agree. I guess reading the contract will be critical, and I think there's never gonna be a substitution for a very like detailed conversation with your management team. Meaning, like you're working with Marcos. Marcos is going to sit down with you and go through these things with you, but we just want you to also be able to do these things, because maybe the conversation happens after or later or another time, but you're moving forward, right? Like I don't want people to be sitting like, I don't know what to do. It's like, well, there's a whole checklist of things to do. So don't, and we were just talking about things like this in general, like, well, if internet goes down, there are things you could still do here. If computer blows up, you can still, well, they probably print a copy of the contract somewhere in there, or there is probably something I can still do regardless of whatever, and I can still be very efficient, right? So we're never gonna have a perfect case scenario. We're just getting better and better at Flow. Like we're just trying to get better and better every day. Perfection is we're never gonna get there, but we're gonna work for that. So that will help. But the conversation with the client, with Darwin or Marcos or Julio, whoever's in charge of the project, it might be even Wandy that the initial consultation. We will be seeing that. So as soon as you do the define stage and you already did that, well, scan existing conditions. Put in the proper folder location. And look, it's funny that they even said flow, projects, architecture, existing conditions, field verification. Like that's beautiful, right? So do that. Upload all photos taken on site. I've had some projects that some people have had to inherit within the office, and they didn't know where the photos were. They had no idea about the project. There's not a good contingency plan there. We're not all permanent here at Flow Design. We're not permanent within Earth anyway. So we have to make sure that we plan for all this. I go to 5 consultations sometimes in the same day, and I have a hard time uploading everything, but I eventually do it, so I eventually also send it to you to upload it for me. But it's the job of whoever did the initial consultation, and also the job of whoever did the existing conditions. Even if you go in as a tag-along person that's helping the main person that's gonna measure it, we never know who is going to be drawing this. So look at it as though you were going to be drawing it. So I may just pick somebody else. I may shift it around, but you have to be able to know that. And I think when you save it, also make sure to put your initials on it somewhere. I think it's important to track who's working on what and things like that. So we'll work on that. So upload all photos taken on site, highlight all dimensions. I had some, again, we only learn through the difficult things. If things were perfect, we would never learn. So personally, with interns that we had, I was like, there was a lot of conflict with things. Like, well, you didn't scan into the folder, which I explained. You didn't highlight the dimensions. I don't care what your process is at the end of the day, but we'll try to show you a process that has worked, and then you can do anything extra. So I want people to use their highlighter, right? Print a copy if you want of the system and highlight each dimension. It's for you so that you know everything is accounted for and it's totally done. Caillou does it differently, which he does all the dimensions and then goes back and highlights them to double check, which it doesn't matter. But the highlighting, it's critical. It's critical. How do you know what you've done? It's impossible. And projects will get more complex and more interesting over time. So we have to make sure that we account for it. So then proper elevations of each particular view, correct window positioning, like go and look at, this is a good one, compare drawing with existing photos. So you're gonna look at the photos, look at the drawing, say something ain't making sense. I mean, your eyes won't lie. That window is centered on that room. I don't care what you're saying, it's centered on that room, right? So we've had some situations where we measured actually the project for 56 Oliver, where the windows weren't really showing up or were not really correct. Then I want you to be empowered. Each one of you to be empowered. And empowerment comes from knowing what to do in whichever case scenario. So you get more empowered when you say, well, I'm going to go to now Google Earth. I'm going to look at those photos. I'm going to go to the listing on Zillow, and I'm going to look at those photos. I'm going to look at my photos and compare it and going to see what happened. We've learned things like, well, the chimney was demo, or a portion of this house was added afterwards. This is not what but you're going to become so much more aware of the spaces in the building, and you're going to be empowered to be able to respond to whichever situation. So compare it, at the end of the day, you are all getting paid to do this. So it's a job. You take your time, look at it. We'd rather things be accurate than to be fast. So that's why we're doing this. So ensure that you update the name and information of the client, place views within the appropriate sheets. We have our 4-step process, their sheets, they can go within the proper sheet. Update and correct the dates. Dates are so critical, guys. So critical. There's so many projects. I don't know which one is the latest. I have a hard time. Files get corrupted. And I'm like, if I don't see a date, I don't know. I mean, the project for Tulio has gone through hundreds of reviews, I think. So if we don't have the dates, we don't know which one is the latest file. Preliminary site plan, you're gonna be doing that. If Patrick was hired, you can obtain information from Patrick on that. If Patrick wasn't hired, you will learn that from management. But also on the contract says including survey. If it's not including survey, likely we're not doing the survey. So you can even you are already empowered to say, hey, we need a survey for this. Client, we need a survey for this. So you could even ask for it because you know that these are the things that will go within that project. Visibility of property lines, make sure the property lines are the lines that are used, the setbacks are used, do a complete zoning table. If you don't know how to do that, there's a training into how to do a good zoning table. Has this been reviewed by the supervisor? Again, I would like to be replaced, but I know that that's not gonna be the case. So I have to supervise my projects. And eventually some of you will be the supervisor of some projects. That's really the path to growth, like within any institution. You're gonna have to take on responsibilities you've never taken before. If you want to grow and start making more money, well, you're gonna have to take more responsibilities than just doing drawings. That wouldn't be the case. So it's gonna have to be reviewed by Marcos and myself. And lastly, after that, proceed to send the defined stage via email to client. Refer to email templates. We have a template. The template's not perfect. It just gets you started on the right direction. And that's an email template that we all have access to. And if you don't, all of this is gonna live within the management folder. It's gonna be organized. Right now, it's in the work in progress. Therefore, I haven't been able to put it on the project folder. All right. So refer to email templates. Ensure Adobe signature file is sent. I don't know how to do an Adobe signature file. There is a video on that. There's almost a video almost about everything. And if there isn't, the day you ask for it, I'll make it. And I'll explain it to you, but I'll make it. So there is a video for it. All right. So ensure the document ends with the following step. That's the thing I always do. People want to know what's next. So always show, okay, I've done Envision, I've done Define, we're gonna move on to design. So this is kind of what's coming. Each one, this is kind of what's coming. Just add those 2 extra pages. And then if it's been signed, you can proceed with the next step. Again, connect with client and Envision. Ensure the signature from client is obtained. Ensure client and Envision is obtained. Photos and description, pictures and description. I need both. Is the Envision consistent with the initial contract? Very important question, because they may say, Darwin, well, this is kind of related to zoning. You go and ask for something and then you build something else. No. So if what they ask for is on the initial contract and the initial consultation, which you've already watched, is inconsistent with what the Envision is showing, hold on, stop, ask management. Say, hey, Darwin, this is additional service. This is an additional service, all right? We're not a bank. We're an architecture business. Like in banks, if the numbers don't line up, they actually charge it to the teller. Like we're not gonna charge you. We're not doing any of that stuff. But you are protecting the health and safety of our company by ensuring that we're getting paid for what we're supposed to get paid and that things are within our scope. Also, how are you to know what to design if there's inconsistencies? You're gonna be like, I'm confused. I'm not turning left or right until I know the direction. All right. Some clients are vague, and they're vague because they think they're gonna get more for their money by being very vague. And I don't accept the ambiguity here. We can't deliver a package to an address that doesn't exist, right? Period. So ensure that those things are obtained. If they're not obtained, an email saying, hey, you've not provided this, I'm going to waive that. You're gonna waive the rights to any changes if you don't provide this. Literally, there's not an email for that, but it's basically saying you skipped it. Therefore, if later on what you got is not what you wanted, you pay extra for it because you didn't give it to me. Okay? So there must be a way in writing to say that. By the way, am I breaking up again or no? Is the audio okay or no? Is it good? Okay. So is the Envision consistent with the initial contract? Great. If there is something that should be there that isn't there, speak with your supervisor. If there is something that's not there that should be there, speak with your supervisor. If Envision is not clear and does not meet, if it's not clear, meet with the client via Zoom and record this. That's a good one too. There's a lot of pictures. It's hard to understand. Or there's very little pictures. It's hard to understand. record the Zoom, save it on the appropriate folder. Record the Zoom. Always record the meetings. Make a suggested vision out of those images. Make a suggested image. Eventually, we'll have probably AI make our own suggested vision. But for now, you look at what they want. You look at where you want to take things forward as a designer. You have your own intel there. Like, I think this kind of lines up better. If they approve it, send it for approval, refer to the email template, ensure Adobe signature is sent, ensure document ends with the following. Proceed with design. I've been bundling define and envision within the same package a lot, but it doesn't mean that it has to be like that. Like if we're doing a Corinthian project, envision may be programming, an entire programming session. It may take a while to do that envision. So, that's why we've left it like that. Okay, so after approval of step 1 and 2, if approved, proceed. If not approved, do not proceed. Meet with design director to discuss initial design options. I believe that we should meet with, in this case, the design director is Julio Gutierrez. So meet with Julio Gutierrez before you start sketching. Why? Because once you've already spent like a whole week doing design options, it turns out that those design options you've been working on are nowhere near what the direction and the philosophy of the company is going, the direction of the client. It may be a whole total waste of time. And we've had that. We've had complete waste of time. Team is right now redesigning an entire project in Salem that was wrongly designed because the process wasn't adhered to. It has to be adhered to. Now, meet with design director to discuss initial design options. Great. From there, you're just gonna get directionality. Julio is not going to design it for you. Not at all. You're all signed up for architecture. You all should be able to design. That's what we want you to be able to do. He's going to guide you. Right, Julio, in general, you're just gonna ask the right questions, ask the right directions, and see where we wanna go. And there's gonna be room for you to express yourself as a designer, but there's gonna be things that you just do and things that you just do not do. That's it, okay? So another one I added, create 2 concept designs on trace paper. I think it's critical that we begin to go back to our principles. You have to sketch. You know, I don't want you to go into Revit with something that may or may not work and start designing in Revit. Use trace paper. It's proven to work. We're gonna stick with it and start sketching. After you do those sketches, meet with design director again. You're gonna learn some things as if you did that. You're gonna understand some things in a different way that you did that. And then the design director is gonna give you more clarity and say, yep, that's pretty good. It may be a 2-minute meeting. It may be a 3-minute. It may be a 5-minute, right? So then after that, you can go into Revit, organize 2 design options into Revit, refer to or how to make design options in Revit. If you don't know how to do that, there's a video to how to do that. We're gonna drag it here or add it in some way or fashion. Option 1 includes everything the client asked for. If it does not, you have to have it in writing to why. Everything they asked for and why. If it doesn't, why? Doesn't work with code, doesn't work with zoning, doesn't work with height. We have to show it. We have to be able to show it. Option 2 is an enhanced design option of option 1 with the things that you believe this project should actually be. Because at the end, you know better than clients. They hired us because we're experts. We should know better. So when they want it, may not work. There's another way of how to do it. Doesn't mean you're only going to do option 1 and 2. No, you're only going to be sharing option 1 and 2. But you will be exploring different options. That's why the trace paper. The sooner you can make them, the better it is. There are things we haven't gotten into, which is allotted amounts of times per project. We haven't been like micromanaging you on your time on each project because so far our fees have been generous or rates have been generous, okay, and consistent. But we may get to a point where we begin adding allotted times. Marcos is much more better at that than me, but amounts of times for things so that you know what you're expected. Okay? Very important because we don't want to burn the budget. We want to be able to be profitable on each particular job. Otherwise, we're not a business, we'll be a charity, and we're not charity here. Okay? So make sure that those design options make the cut. Their jobs, this is another one that I may be okay, and Marcos may also be okay with you spending more time. probably merits the time. It will make a statement for us within our office. It aligns to our ethos and logos and pathos of the company, meaning or why of things or feelings or desires within the company. They may be that, and you spend as much time as you need to on that. I mean, it's not eternal, but you could spend more time on it. Okay. So again, so then make sure that you have the site plan if applicable. Check with management what level of rendering is applicable. We can't be making the same renderings for all jobs. Even if the tools are free because you're a student and you may have Enscape, doesn't mean you should do it for all projects. Does not mean, make sure that's applicable. Even if you make it, don't necessarily share with the client. Don't. Why? Because I can upcharge the client for it. You could do a black and white version of the thing. You've probably already did it because you want to do it for your own portfolio, and you probably did it on your time. So Flow is not paying you for it. But at the end of the day, it still is intellectual property. At the end of the day. So make sure that you share the lower version of it. Say, hey, Darwin or Marcos, I did multiple versions. Let's see if we can sell it. If we can't, we can let the client know, hey, listen, this rendering level wasn't within our services. We're giving it to you as a gift. Trust me, it's not a gift. I have already figured out how to get it out of them. Maybe we did something wrong in the beginning and we're basically doing it for forgiveness. There's tools. We're a business. So I will always leverage anything you give them extra. You just have to make sure we all know and we let them know. Then meet with the design director to verify designs. I don't want it to be that Julio met with you at the beginning, Julio met with you at the middle, and Julio met with you at the end, and or didn't meet with you at the end. You met with the client, and what you presented to the client, it's not at all what Julio has discussed. Because I'm going to go to Julio and say, Julio, what the heck is this? Like, this is not at all what's going on. And Julio's gonna look at me and say, they did it without my consent. They did it without me meeting with them. That cannot happen. Cannot happen at all. All right. So then do a practice meeting before meeting with a client if this is the first time you've ever met with a client. If you've already done it a couple of times, you don't have to do that. But if you're nervous a little bit about it, I know you did it with Julio when she met and went through it, and she did a badass job. Congratulations, Chadu. I'm gonna always, kudos to people that do a great job. And if you don't, next time it's another chance. We give chances here. So schedule design meeting with client after all the package is ready or nearly completion. Don't schedule the meeting if you don't have the package, because then you're gonna be like, ooh. But you do have to have a timeline in mind of when you're gonna be. Record the design meeting. Anything to be added. I'm going through a lot, and I said this was gonna be fast. Anything to be added in here. Anything that anybody wants to jump in. By the way, silence means you're all in agreement with this. If you have nothing to say about it, then you're all in agreement. You've waived your right to change these or edit. You're going to have to adhere to these processes, okay? So going back to there, all of that, meet with design director, great. So after the design meeting, there may be revisions that need to be made. Make those applicable revisions. Discuss with management if some of it may be additional services. I just don't want to see a whole 20 by 20 addition on a project that was supposed to be like a little 5 by 5 room because I'm gonna be like, whoa, we should be getting paid for this. We should be getting, okay. One thing I want to be using, and I'm thinking about it, should throw nuggets in here to all of you. I speak with all of you individually. I talk to you, but all of these nuggets, I'm throwing it across the board. Meaning, you have to treat these projects and Flow like it's your company. Technically, you meet your needs, financial and design needs and desires from this company. So all of these things you got to protect them like they're your own. Like the design, the processes, the amount of time spent, all of that stuff. Because whenever you bleed out time and money, it bleeds out time and money on Flow, and it bleeds down time. Like it's gonna create an environment we don't want to. We want to be in an abundance mindset. So make sure that you are consistent with that. Lastly, send revised design options to client for approval. So we all know that they may be, yes, go ahead with A, no, go ahead with B, go ahead with A plus B, go ahead with A plus something else that might be an additional service, right? We all know that. Those are the things. There may be revisions. When certain revisions happen, you shall meet with the director of design prior to making those revisions too. Why? Because we've seen things that are not, I'm not of you, it's just in general. I've seen it in other offices too. Now then the design changes and it violates rules that we've already created all the way back on step 1, 2, and 3, and rules that we created at the beginning of the design. The things that you just don't do. Okay, they're just things that you just don't do. So I don't want that opportunity for you to meet, because you might have met with the client by yourself, to meet with the client, for the client to take advantage of you. Most of our clients are older and know much more about business than all of us. Some clients have actually said, hey, don't tell Darwin that you're doing this for me, because Darwin's going to charge extra. Or don't tell Marcos, because Marcos is going to look at it this way. Nope, that will be an outright violation of our statutes in Saflo. You don't do that. They're not your boss. The client's not your boss. We can fire a client at any given moment, right? So the clients are not your boss. So just make sure that there's a difference there. Their orders are not your commands. They got a word that you could say is, I do have to consult with management team. I do have to consult with Marcos and Darwin, because I don't know if this is applicable or not applicable. Now, that's it. Refer to email template, ensure that Adobe signature is file sent, ensure document ends with the following step, proceed with the document. We've not done the document and construction documents, the document, which is construction document, and the construction phase checklist yet. Unfortunately, this is actually a really badass job that Sabrina did. Kudos to her, whatever she is. But we've not done that. I'm going to begin and try to attempt to do what she did, consistent as how she did it, because I actually like it. I don't know if you guys have any comments on that, but that's where we are. Any questions on that?
I think that what we should do is that we should test it. Everybody should print one, and then when use a project as your guinea pig, and anything that you think that makes sense and we should add, then write it down, show it to Darwin, and then we will put it in there. That way it's applicable. I feel that if we start using it, then it becomes more of more applicable to us. And it's good that we are putting it in writing so it doesn't get through the cracks. So
Completely agree. So a new project that you started, you can begin with this process right away. A project that you already done, like maybe not, but a project that you started from scratch, and maybe track your feedback as you do it. This is very important, guys. I mean, me and Marcos oversee all projects at the end of it. Like at the end of the day, it will either follow me and then Marcos, or Marcos and then me, but we all hold it together. So if you don't track these, by the way, this thing should be printed, right, for each project. Maybe there's a section where you write project number at the top, and that's the project that. And with pen and pencil, whatever, say, well, this wasn't really right. Or just scratch and say no applicable, NA, no applicable. And I'll track which ones are not applicable. How many of them are not applicable? What happened? So that we can be more efficient. I do think that this is gonna make us way better. Anybody has an opinion on that? You guys think it's gonna be very helpful? So we'll work on that, get that done, and move on to the next one. So the other thing I want to share, and I guess I can pause this. So another thing I want to share real quick is, again, that list that we were talking about. So there are a couple things we wanted to do. One is the team roster that she was working on, and it was essentially a way of having a little thing where you have, these are samples, where you have like your skills and things like that. I don't know if you ever sent Sabrina your information, but it will be good. And there are many reasons for these, guys. When we go after big projects, we gotta send up a qualifications package for each member of the office. And if we don't have an updated resume, we don't have an updated information of things that you have and skills that you have, we will not be able to know. But also for reference within the office, like if somebody needs a rendering, who is a good one on that, right? If somebody, and we're thinking about Flow as this little thing, but guys, Flow is becoming and will become inevitably bigger than this little thing. There may be satellite offices in the future. So we're setting the foundation for something very, 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 very like special. It's very special. And again, I get to see information from firms from all over the country. I get to hear all of their concerns. I tell you right now, we're onto something big. Embrace everything you do here at Flow, change everything you see, improve it, ask questions. You're onto something really, really big and really, really meaningful. And if you don't embrace it and own it, and buy into it, and like you have to breathe it, you know. Now, after flow, after you get out of the office, you know, I promise you, I will not bother anybody when you're out of the office. I will not. I will not. I'm gonna work on that. I'm set. But when you are at the office, this is it. This is your flow place. This is your flow moment. This is it. You know, be it. You know. So that's that. Then I'm gonna share something else in a second. But Marcos, if you have anything you can add. All right. So the other thing that I want to share is that list of successful projects. I started it. I have, I don't know if you've noticed, a freaky memory, even though I don't sleep that much, but I guess my brain still works. So I've been tracking projects that have been generally successful and that are generally good. And those are these projects. And we began putting them in here, and that's going to be something we're all gonna have access to. And it will, you know, these are just the headings, but successful projects, you know, garage additions, single family new construction, single family full renovation, Somerville residential projects, because Somerville is its own thing, kitchen and additions, renovations, bathrooms, decks and porch. We're doing all of that. And we started, you know, Indian Reach is one of those nice projects that was a successful flip. We're doing something like this. 56 Oliver, I guess it would be a good example from step 1 through 3, because, you know, very robust mixed use building. 10 Bunker Hill Road was one of our first homes, but we, you know, it's a good home to look at. 60 Morton, I think that Igo did that, turned out to be a good one. 8 Colchester turned out to be a really good one too. So it starts becoming, you know, it starts really helping you. We want flow to be a place where as soon as you walk in, you're not lost. You know what to do next, you know where to do it, you know who to call and when to call. Like, it's becoming an autonomous kind of place, but it's so that we can like enjoy it more, like get through all the logistics, and then it's like, now you know the rules of the game. It's like playing basketball. You know all the rules of basketball, then you can really play basketball. Because it becomes frustrating for me and for new people. You know, I may come across as rude, and I don't want to when I'm correcting people about names and logistics, and then they get frustrated, and then, you know, trouble happens. It's like, well, let's make sure that never happens. So 10 Winter Street is another one. You can actually walk to the side. This is another, you know, this is actually really good stuff. I mean, pretty good stuff. You know, this is another new house, Mount Hope. By the way, there are 5 houses within this lot, so we can look at all of them. This is a great one too that we got a photo shoot soon too. But I told this list to Sabrina, and she did a great job. I actually was very sad that she left. I'm like, she was right on track with the things. So, and I know almost every project. I do at some point see every project, either at the end reviewing it, but through the emails you send. So I kind of see which ones are great and which ones are not. If you have others that you want to add to the list, you can send me an email to a list. Send it over to me. Do you guys think this will be helpful for people?
Well, not just for people, for not just for us, but for like we can share with clients and be like, hey, you know, this is like an example of some projects that we have done. Sometimes our website, some people don't use website, you know, so this is good to kind of share it. Hey, even as an ambition phase, it could be like, hey, this is an ambition of projects that we have done, so you can get a sense of what is possible. You know, it is definitely helpful.
So, and all of this, it takes Marcos and I to have to do this work to know what things you probably will need. Like, we are very aware of the process because we've done this project, we've drafted so many of these projects, but we need your feedback as you apply all of this. We need your feedback as you do all of these things, right? Like, I think of Flow as an app that we keep upgrading often, right? And make sure that the upgrades are positive, right? So that things can get better and better and better. So we really, really need your feedback. And unfortunately, we only learn when things don't go as planned. That's the case, but we can't plan for all cases. But at the end of the day, you're right, absolutely right, Marcos. Just sending this thing once it's done. A new client initial, like, hey, look, by the way, these are things you may want to look at, you know, that we've done. Right? Oh my goodness, look, that's exactly what I want to do. That it starts also raising the bar. It's like, these guys are not just like your average Joes, right? Like, these guys know what they're doing. They've done it for a while. They have a very track record of this. We give continuity, which is a problem many firms have, that they don't have continuity You know, they keep reinventing the wheels all the time, and they waste a lot of money. Most firms are not profitable in many cases because they keep reinventing. At least residential ones are not, for sure. That's what I hear. So we can do that, you know, way better. So that's it. And that's it for me. I don't have anything else to share. This is the folder right now. It's living at Sabrina Armstrong's location. You can feel free to browse there. I will eventually move it into our project management location. And things are gonna, you know, get more and more robust and cleaner and better. At the end of the day, we just want Flow to be the best place it could possibly be, but also the best work environment, best for the clients, best for the bottom line. You know, again, we see Flow growing and continue to grow, but now it's not grow on staff members. It's about the quality of the work that we do, so that ultimately we can even charge better, feel much better rewarded, and pay better to each one of you. So that's really it at the end of the day, you know. And again, changing the pipeline involves changing the entire ecosystem from beginning to end. Guys, have any questions or anything, just please let me know. Good. All right, so it's time to eat.